All right, just start off real quick. Just past game, obviously disappointed, frustrated, a lot of those things. Reality is we need to play better, we need to coach better. There's no question about it. We got to do a much better job collectively within our building. You only get so many opportunities to show your stuff, and we got to do better with it. And that includes these next 3 weeks. We got Houston this week, and we're looking forward to playing this game. I think obviously, you're not going to be in a bowl game this year, which is very disappointing. We can't stand that. But we're still trying to go win this game this weekend. We're trying to go win these last three. We want to finish on a strong note. We're playing for these seniors that have been in this program for many years and want to send them out the right ways, things that they'll remember, and not just the bad things, so they have something great to remember as we finish out this season. So as you think about, playing, I know people talk about, well, do you play a bunch of young guys and all this and that? Well, we will play some young guys. There's no question about that. We did last week. We'll continue to do some of that. But we're still at the same time trying to win the game. So we're going to put the guys out there that will help us win and do the best job that we can do in all three phases. And, it's crazy to think about this year. I look back on it and we're outgaining, opponents. I think 6 out of the 9 opponents, and 4 of them over 100 yards. Offensively, I think we're 23rd in the country right now in offense, 6th in the country in rushing. Defensively, our havoc rate on defense is top 5 in the country. I mean, we've done some really nice things on that side of the ball as well. Obviously, the negative is turnover margin. I think that's if you had to point to something, that would be one of the biggest things I think I'd point to. Last week we were -2. And, and that was a team that had been turning the ball over this year. And, but having said that, in those games, we're losing turnover margin, but we're still right there with a chance to go win. And so if we can clean up some of those things, but it comes back to being disciplined. That's what I mentioned in the game at the end of the game last night or Saturday night, was being very undisciplined. The things we're going to continue to work on, being a disciplined football team and cleaning up some of those things. And, and I think I emphasize it, big time to our players and our team. You're playing Houston this week, a team that moved up just like we did. Had a big win last week against Baylor. Went for 2 and got it to win the game. And I think they certainly have some talented players. Starting with their quarterback, I think Donovan Smith is a really good player. He's got great size, big. I didn't realize how big he was. He can run too. He can throw. Completing 66% of his passes, which I think is really, really good. And a couple of dynamic receivers, I think, that are awesome players, and in the returning game. I think the one number 2, I think he's got 2 touchdown kickoff returns for touchdowns. Does an outstanding job. Punt returner is really good. Number 15, he's a good player as a DB. And then number 9 leads the Big 12 in sacks. He's got 8 sacks. He's a big time edge rusher off the outside. It looks like they've tweaked their defense. I think early on in the season was giving up some yards and some points and that type of thing. But the last 3 weeks they've really tightened that up a little bit better and played more sound. Took Texas all the way to the end. Of course, beat Baylor. So I think they're playing much better on that side of the ball as well. But I just open up with questions.
I ran some numbers this week. I know you like when I do that.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
You've only had 13 snaps with the lead on offense in Big 12 play. For an offense that wants to run the ball and control the clock, how difficult does that make the entire operation that you can't seem to play? Yeah. Even when you get the lead, it vanishes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be a lot better, I think, if we had the lead more, because it plays more into the hands of what you want to do: run the football, control the clock. Here's the other thing I think is that, and I think I've mentioned this, but we have not started a drive on the plus 50 since the first half of Oklahoma, 5.5 weeks. I don't know if anybody in the country has that's happened to. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're playing from behind, so it makes it a lot more difficult to do what we really want to do. At the same time, we still have been running the ball, at some really good clips. And, but it would be so much better, if you're getting the lead, you're controlling the clock, and then you're getting the ball back on defense. And what that does, it forces the opposing teams to start forcing the ball more, therefore creates more turnovers and more sacks, because now we feel like, okay, they got to throw it more. We can get to the quarterback, and I think that's one thing where we've been hurt on. We've only got 4 interceptions this year, which is the last in the Big 12. And part of that is because they don't feel pressured to throw the ball late in the games, when a lot of times you can get those interceptions and picks. And I feel like, you start pressing a little bit, which we've had to do at times, and I think that's where we've got in trouble. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, that's, hopefully, we can continue to work and get those leads and get ahead of the games so that plan can really help you, obviously, more than hurt you.
Your job's obviously not easy. How do you evaluate and figure out what to do when you're thinking of redshirting?
Yeah.
But we're in an era when kids are jumping all over the place, are you sometimes saving someone who might be off?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's particularly this era, that in the transfer era, and a lot of these guys when they come in, I mean, they want to play right now, and some of them can't. It's hard for them to see, why they're not playing right now, and so we try to have conversations. We try to keep the open dialogue, open line of communications with our players to say, listen, you're going to be a really, really good player, because nowadays these young people, all of them, I got 3 kids, they want instant gratification. They don't want to have to sometimes work on that, for a year and a half. I mean, I've seen some great players, some players that are drafted that maybe they took 2 years before they even started, and then all of a sudden now they developed and they're really, really good players. And but it's having a little bit of patience and continue to work. But some are not trying to hear that. Some are wanting to play now. Some that you end up redshirting. You think about it as coaches, I'm thinking, man, we don't want to redshirt this guy for somebody else. Because now he may, after a year or two, may decide to go play somewhere else, and that's not good. So there's a fine line there. But I think, but if you want to build your program right, I think if the players are not 100% ready, then you don't play them. You end up redshirting them. If some are ready, well, you try to play them in 4 games to get them some time in the game, get them some experience, because I do believe that next spring and that next off season, they're going to have something to build off of. They're going to have something that coach off of as well as coaches. So I do think that is very beneficial. And then there's others that, man, you just want to go ahead and play, and because they're good enough to help you, even if it is at a limited role.
And on Saturday, you were going to come in on Sunday and work with whoever was there in terms
Yeah.
of the discipline. What was
Yeah.
Sunday like? Was there some push and pull, or was it kind of a better day?
No, I mean, they all showed up. That was good. That was positive. But it was a heated meeting, the team meeting, and and I think several coaches spoke up in the meeting, and and players. I think, listen, 85-90% of our players, man, are 100% doing exactly what they need to be doing. But then some are not. And so it's the key is, and this is always going to be the deal. You get the coaches, we have to do the best job we can to get everybody pulling in the same direction, doing the things that it takes to win and to win games and to play disciplined football. And you know what? But when you don't, there's consequences. God, you're going to get called out. You're going to get coached hard. And so that's what it was. There's a lot of that. And I think to be able to point that out in a team meeting, in a team setting, so everybody can see it. You put it all out there on the table, so we all know what we're working with, and we all know how we need to get better. Because maybe you're a guy who hadn't made those mistakes, but you're hearing what the mistakes he's made. But I don't want to make them. So they need to hear that. It's not just a one-on-one conversation. I mean, the whole team needs to hear it, and that's kind of where we had. And it was a really good meeting, and the guys are are coming out hard and trying to continue to compete. I thought Sunday night was that way at practice, and I think today will be those guys will come out and compete hard and want to have a great practice today.
New coaching staff and 20-plus transfers this season. What have been some of the biggest challenges throughout these first 9 weeks?
Well, I think, probably the biggest challenge is when you're coming in as a new staff, you don't truly know what you got until you start playing and you start getting in these games and you start figuring out, okay, well, we're deficient here, we're okay here, those type things. And as you continue to play, and then also you don't know in the league, how are these other teams? What are these teams looking like? How are these teams built? What are the things that they're trying to do to can win championships? And as you go through the league, you learn a lot about those things. And so, the challenges, particularly, and I think we've talked a lot about this in the secondary. And then you lose a guy like Sammy, arguably your best corner, best DB, and you don't have him out there. And then now you're having to play some young guys and guys that even older guys, but they hadn't played a whole lot, but now they're having to go out there and play. And, so those type things are challenging, I think, and trying to figure out the best way to help our team at the same time put our guys in position so they can make plays and not get exposed, so to speak. I mean, so we're trying to put them in a position to make plays, and that's been the challenge really all year. And I think I think we've done a really good job in a lot of things, and some poor job in some other things that's really cost us.
Speaking of young DBs, Kalen Carroll got the start. Probably good that we didn't notice him
That's
much
right.
on that tape.
You're
But
100%.
what did his tape look like?
He played very, very solid. Obviously is the best that he played. He's really basically 2 games, I guess. Oklahoma State and in Central Florida. So, but he did play well. He had a couple knockdown, batted balls. The guys were there, and I thought he played with a lot more poise. He didn't really get rattled, which was great to see. I mean, he's a freshman, and that was great to see out of that, and continue to build off of that. I think the biggest thing that as a coach that I want to see, and I'm sure everybody else wants to see, is our guys staying on top of receivers. I mean, we've gotten in trouble this year because we're letting some of these receivers get behind us, and these quarterbacks are good, man, that we're playing, and they make you pay. But staying on top, getting on top of the receivers, and not giving up those big plays is the key to not giving up points. And we've done a poor job with that all year. And and I thought he did a very good job with that in that regard on Saturday.
With the bowl game, how do you keep the guys playing for the front of the jersey and not the back?
Yeah.
When in fact they kind of need to play a little bit for the name on the back because their careers are up in the air too.
Well, I think number one, we like what I mentioned earlier, we want to send the seniors out on a high note. I mean, we don't want to just continue to limp through the rest of the 3 games. We want to go out there and play our best ball. I thought DP played his best game Saturday. I thought Kalen Carroll played his best game. I think Braden Smith played his best game. Ryan Montgomery played his best game. So we want to see that. We want to see guys that really show up, and at the end of the season, play your best game right now. Let's go out and do the very best we can, and to send these seniors out on a high note. And I think a lot of time, pride comes into play. I mean, you just want to go out there and lay down. I mean, we're not doing that. We're not built that way. So I think we got a lot to continue to play for. And I know, in general, people say, well, you don't have anything to play for. Man, every time we step on the field, we got to have something to play for. And we have not played great, this year, complete games. And so let's strive to do that. And I think we got enough guys in that room that have enough pride about themselves. They want to go out and do that.
Back to my original point, on a positive note, is it even more impressive what you've been able to do in the running game that you haven't been in a situation to play with the lead and you're still rushing the ball the way you are?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think so. And if you go back and you look at the last several games where they got a lot of people in that box, and we're still able to run the football. 9 guys in the box, and I think that credit to our O-line, our tight ends, our backs, continue to hit it in there, and making those plays. I thought, and I really did. I thought Saturday we moved the ball well. I mean, minus the 2 turnovers, we played maybe as efficiently offensively as we've played all year. I think we threw the ball. Passing was the second most passing yards that Central Florida had given up, and we still rushed for 249 or something, right around 250 yards. I mean, we moved the ball really, really good. Minus those 2 turnovers, because if you get those 2 turnovers, you take those away, we're down there close to red zone, inside there. You're looking at some points, hopefully there. We did score in our red zone this past weekend, so you come away with some points there, you come away with the win probably, and get a lot of momentum, because one of them was right before the half, where we felt like we can get some points going into halftime.
You mentioned their big wins. What in the world did Kansas State do to them to shut them out? That seems mind-boggling.
They played really good defense, like really good defense. And the thing about it, I think, the quarterback that day, if you go back and look at his stats, that's not the way he's been playing throughout the season. In that particular game, it was less than 100 yards passing. And, they obviously want to throw the football. So I think Kansas State's defense did a great job. And then offensively, man, extremely efficient. Extremely efficient. They were good on 3rd downs. They were able to run the football and control the game that way. And they got up on them, and then they just continued to pour it on. Conversely, Texas got up on them. Texas was up 21-0, and then Houston hit a couple of big plays and got right back in that game, and then it came down to the wire, in the 4th quarter. So, but I think, I remember Coach Holgerson mentioned that that's what a Big 12 team looks like, after they played Kansas State. And Kansas State's coached well. And man, they're big. They're a big, strong, physical football team, and I think that's why they're able to do that. For the 41-0, maybe.
Obviously, the goal is to end 5-7 for you guys. But What does the end of the season look like in terms of, it's a successful end of the season to where you can start the offseason on the right foot instead of the wrong foot? Is it a specific characteristic you guys can progress on or develop?
You just want to continue. You want to continue to improve and do the things it takes to win the games. We're going to play, 3 teams that are very, very solid football teams. We know that. 2 of them on the road. So obviously challenging in these last 3. But if we can continue to grow as a football team and get better, and I talked about those individuals, a while ago. But if we can get a lot more other guys, individuals playing their best games, then we're gonna have a chance to win. That's what we want to see. Continue to see growth out of these guys. We got a lot of guys coming back on offense, and actually several on defense as well. But continue to get growth out of them guys, and that as good as you can finish, that's going to propel you into the off season. I've already been meeting with Coach Nico. We got a great plan for when we get back in January for our guys in the off season. Our recruiting staff's done an unbelievable job of securing high school guys that are coming in here. Half of them are coming in January. And then of course we all know here in about 2.5 weeks this portal's going to open back up, and we're going to be able to try to fill some gaps in as well. So it's going to be on when December hits. As far as recruiting goes, and so we got a great plan for that. So I think all that stuff and over these next 2.5 weeks and playing these football games, if we can get some great momentum headed into December, obviously that's going to be huge for us as we head into the off season. Is that it?
Any questions for Coach? Thank you, sir.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Questions for Corey?
Corey, you're having your best season ever. Just take us through the process of staying healthy and being able to get in there. And it looked like you were fresh. You were running through guys early in that game Saturday.
Just living in the training room, and then we had a great strength conditioning staff that got us prepared and keep us ready. And just that's how I've been staying healthy and staying fresh, really.
Coach mentioned after the game that Sunday he was going to, obviously he was upset. He was going to coach the guys that were there. He said everybody showed up. How was that practice? How was he? How were you guys? How did it go? How do you recover from what's been happening?
I feel like Coach did a good job in the meeting, calling people out. He was setting the standard because how we've been playing it's been bad. This isn't the Cincinnati standard that we're used to, and he just called people out, called himself out, and just said we're not where we need to be. So practice was a good practice, a good heated practice. We need to do better.
Said like 85 to 90% of the guys on the roster are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing week in and week out. How hard is it to know that you have the majority of the team that's committed to winning, committed to this team, and then there's some that are just necessarily not doing everything they're supposed to be doing?
It's tough knowing we got guys that aren't doing what they need to do. But my job as a leader is to try to get those guys to do what they need to do, try to keep everybody together, because it's easy for everybody to split apart when we're losing as many games as we've lost this year, and we're not used to doing that. But it's just me and the other leaders on the team need to stick together, keep everybody together, and call the people out who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but just show them that if we all play together, what we could do.
Obviously a difficult season, but how can you use this experience to build on the future?
It's been a difficult season. Even though I've been having a good season, it's been very difficult. I would trade this to win games any day. But we can use this and build off of it. We know we don't want to feel like this ever again as far as losing and things like that. But we've been doing some good things as far as running the ball. Offensive line have been playing great. The rest of the backs in the room have been playing great. So we can build off of this and take it in the next.
You mentioned the training staff and the coaching staff. Talk about Coach Nico a little bit in preparation to have the season that you're having and what he was able to do this offseason for you.
Oh, yeah. So Coach Nico came in, and I think it was like the first or second week, had me squatting more than I ever squatted before. And I was like, man, this dude is crazy. I didn't think I needed to squat that much. But then he showed me, like, you're not even the tip of the iceberg. Like, you're not even where you want to be. You're not even where you need to be. and I just kept pushing, got me way stronger, got me a little faster. It's still a long ways that I have to go, but he got me and the rest of the guys prepared, showed us where we want to be or where we could be, and just been doing a great job at it.
You've been teammates with Ryan Montgomery for a couple years now. How satisfying is it to see him battle through the injuries and everything he has, and then to come out and run like he did on Saturday?
It's great playing with Ryan because he's such a positive person. Having the injuries that he's had, a lot of people could just quit and be like, I don't want to go through this pain anymore. But Ryan comes to work every day, and he works hard, does a great job. He's a great leader in the running back room, and then he makes spectacular plays like special teams and the running back room. He's just a great person to be around.
Probably some young players who don't understand maybe why they're not playing, and you've been in that situation before. What do you tell them as a veteran? Because so many kids, they want success now. Waiting is not a popular thing.
Yes, sir. I just tell them that just because you're not playing, that doesn't mean that the coach doesn't see what you're doing in practice. I tell the scout guys, you have to be working hard on the scout team because you're going against the guys who are playing, so you're making those guys better. But two, you're making yourself better as well. Coach sees that. He watches film of everybody on the field every day. And then even when the NFL guys are here watching us, they might be here for one of the guys that's on the travel squad, but they see you making plays, then that could put your name on the board as well.
Any other questions for Corey? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate y'all.
Tinsley next.
Y'all have a nice day.
What we doing? Good.
Things haven't gone exactly as planned, but you're a starter on an offensive line that's produced the number 6 rushing attack in the country to this point. Are you able to look at some of the positives and say, there are things going in the right direction, even though, it's been tough through this losing streak?
Yeah, most definitely. Looking at the season as a whole, this isn't where we want to be, of course. Looking at us being number 6 in the nation and rushing attack is like, a testament to Corey and Monty and those guys and us up front. So, there's negatives of it, but there's also positives with, stuff like that and good things going in the offense.
Sounds like Sunday was a difficult day, maybe with people getting called out after a tough game. How did you see that with the team? How did it go, and are you guys better for it?
Yeah, I think we're most definitely better for it. Sometimes you kind of need meetings like that. It'll kind of bring you back down to reality, humble you a little bit. I think the guys kind of needed that. They looked at it kind of more as a challenge, to the guys that are here. The challenge would be to send these seniors off right. The guys coming back next year, it's a challenge to shift the culture and make it better overall.
Talked about that there's 85 to 90% of the guys in the team are together and they're doing everything that they need to be doing, but there's that 15 to 10%. How hard is it to know that most of you are doing everything that's necessary? There's some that aren't, and maybe how it shines a light on how hard it is to keep this huge roster together and how important it is for success.
Every team I feel like kind of has a couple of oddballs. Sometimes it can hurt, when you're doing the right thing, but at the same time, you still got to dig into those guys, show those guys love, try to get them to be as one, join the team as a culture, and, come together.
There were 5 sacks last game. Certainly not all on you, but how does that work? You guys just get upset with yourselves, or does Henry say, "Come on, dudes, what's up?" Obviously, 5 sacks. That's
us as an offensive lineman, we pride ourselves on protecting the quarterback. And running the ball and being able to execute at a high level. Having 5 sacks, it's unacceptable to us as an O-line in our room. It's something, though, that you don't want to get in your head about, most definitely, because you'll start to, kind of lose the game and don't move on to the next play. But, it's something that we look at Sundays and Mondays and see where we messed up on and how we can improve. And, it's something that we make sure will never happen again.
transferred in from Louisville, and he's had a solid season. What's the dynamic like when you have all these new guys coming in at the offensive line, and you're trying to like learn from them and see what they're doing and what's caused them success, and then you can utilize it in your game?
Man, Luke's came in from Louisville. You know, he was with Coach Sack, Coach Cardwell, and those guys. He knew what to expect. And, you know, for me as an offensive lineman, Gav and other guys that have been here like John, you know, it was almost like a shining light having him, you know, understanding exactly what Coach Sack wanted and what Coach Card wanted as, you know, him being with them. So, you know, he's been nothing but a great help, man.
Continuity and playing together is such a big key
Mm-hmm.
to offensive line success. All of you guys have the ability to come back next year.
Yes, sir.
I feel like you're building something special up front.
Yes, sir. I definitely think we are building something special. You know, you look at the rushing offense and, you know, being sixth best in the country. And, you know, I just think you look at our bond and, you know, how we move on day to day, you know, you can kind of see that chemistry and that core of, you know, friendship and brotherhood there. So I definitely think, you know, everybody has that extra year and stuff like that. They would definitely want to be a part of it. Yes, sir.
Mentioned the 5 sacks versus UCF on Saturday. After watching the film, what was UCF doing defensively that allowed those sacks to come there?
You know, they're some dogs, man. You know, we was watching them all week long. We knew that they were great pass rushers. I think just watching the film and seeing, you know, it's some little things that, you know, we kind of had hiccups on. Maybe shooting wrong with your outside hand and missing your punch or anything like that. So it was kind of it came really down to technique mostly.
Any other questions for D'Artagnan?
All right, thank you guys.